Hey friends, can you hear me in the chat? Are you there? You there, chat? It's me, Troy. Wondering if you can hear me.
New award-winning children's book.
That's right. Nice Hanover Fist. Yeah, good to see you, friend. Good. Not too loud, not too clear. Hopefully. Hey, Jay Gray. Ken fam, good to see you. Ken, I was just thinking about you today. I was, just thinking about how fond I was of the Mutants and Masterminds community in general. Believe it or not. Mastermind of Pook says, Happy Mumamo superfan. Squire says, I lurk. Who else do we got hanging out in here? Of course, we got Nate, and Nate reminds me that it's Canada Day or something.
Yes.
Where we all celebrate Canada and eat some poutine. I do like poutine, I think. It's like the perfect mix of gravy and cheese and fries, right? I mean, yummy. Rebel Moose, good to see you, friend. Gerald Scrimshire, of course, you were here. RC says, I'm on my anniversary vacation, but it worked out that I wanted to watch Mumamo, and she wanted to take an afternoon nap. Compromises have been made. I like it.
Mumamo, the secret to a happy marriage.
That's right. That's indeed correct. And indeed, also what is correct is that Mumamo is basically it's a weekly talk show where we get the best and brightest heroes of the land together in one spot, and they are summarily judged by one Steve Kenson.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, and he has found you wanting. No, I'm kidding. Steve wouldn't judge. Steve, good to see you.
Judge.
We do talk about this TTRPG. The only superhero TTRPG that I've ever, I've ever, strangely enough. And you are kind of a term that you have forced me to use, the Mutants and Master Daddy, right? Is that?
Yes, I do require you to use that.
He doesn't. I'm just kidding. You created this. I mean, of course, with all the help that one requires. But this kind of came out of your brain, and here we sit. I don't even want to say.
Yeah, let's say about how long after that.
Just a period of time has passed, and we're still talking about it. People are still playing it, having a great time. And
no one is more surprised than I am.
It's a work of genius, and has subsequently inspired a series of people who have come and put their mark on the project and the trajectory of things. Alex Thomas, who can't be with us right now. He is on an away mission. He's, I believe his away mission is to find air for a tire.
Yes, we named this episode Going Off the Rails, and therefore immediately that's what Alex did.
That's exactly right.
He is safe and sound in spite of that.
Good to hear that. And I'm also very pleased to introduce a friend who is going to be disembodied as well. But our buddy Devious Hearts is with us.
Hello, all.
Hi, Devious. How are you, friend?
Living the dream.
Now, how do you feel? Hanging out here on the whole Mutants and Masterminds main stage.
Living the dream on the stream.
That's right. I like it. So far, so good. Yeah, I'll give you.
Disembodied legions just grow and grow.
That's right. Yeah, we just sort of congeal and collect. Gross. Congeal is not a good word.
Especially not into a gravy squatch.
No, that's true. Yeah, no. You want your gravy squatch to be not lumpy.
Yeah,
just warm enough. Also, what was I going to say? Listen, I have been up since the crack of dawn, and I have been typing away. Yeah, just working to get all the bits and pieces together. Not completely done, but done enough to say, friends, we have a Mutants and Masterminds membership.
I'm calling it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we have a clubhouse, and so what we're doing is we are recreating the magic over on Patreon, but we're doing it in the think tank. And we already have our first person who joined.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that person. Are you in chat still? Let me double check. Doodle doot. William Lang. Congratulations for being number one. You got the only number one badge.
First in the door.
Yeah, because the number one is number one. Right. And now RC asks the question that's on everybody's mind, and that's how can you get in? Well, you can get in by heading over to. That's right. Collect your, exactly.
Yeah. Box tops. There's a secret
proofs of
ring
purchase.
Involved.
Mail them all to Steve's house.
Yes.
Yeah, all of that. Plus, you can hang out by. So we've got a little segment or a little section of the. I'm going to actually share screen. I can't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pretend that this is
Troy
all
into your screens.
Let me show you.
Do not resist the sharing.
Do not resist. You may try to resist, but then you will find me irresistible. Let's see.
Resistance is futile.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm doing a share, and it's a share screen, and that screen is going to be the think tank. And let's see how this all pans out.
Behold the vast expanse of infinite tabs.
Ta-da! Oh, you, Steve. Putting my business on blast. How very dare. But so here, I'm gonna go over all of this. First, I want to make this very clear. Nothing that you have experienced in the tank to date now is subsumed by any kind of membership. All of that stuff remains free. It's all out there for you to enjoy, and we'll continue, and we'll even be adding more and more stuff.
Membership area is all new.
That's right. It is all new stuff. Let's see. Is there pizza involved? I mean, sure, of course there is. That's right. Yeah, exactly. Right. We need some pizza and some Mountain Dew has always been the drink of choice when I was TTRPGing as a child. RC says, I've read 10 books. I'd like my personal pan pizza. Man, because it was a big deal when I was in school. A big deal. And the bigger deal is me trying to find where my tabs are. And I've won, and here we are. So here's what I've done. This is going to make sense to most of you, but some of you might be going, well, you're really getting into the weeds here, but it's important that I explain. So we've added a new section to the membership area, and that section is called the Sanctum. And in the Sanctum will be a lot of sanctum-y type things, but it's basically Alex and Steve's library of tools and templates and tips and things. Just like their kind of shorthand templates and things that they utilize to get them through big tasks like planning for a convention show or a game, all that kind of good stuff. So we'll be populating that. That's something that's open for members of the membership, I guess we're calling it.
Members of the membership.
The membership, yeah. But in addition, so there was sort of a placeholder spot where I just kind of wanted to get all of the Patreon folks together so that we could keep them apprised of our progress. Right. That was called membership. I've renamed that. That's now the Patreon archive. Now, what I've done is I haven't added the Patreon archive to the membership yet. So that means you get, if you're in there, you've been invited to be a part of that, then you get to stay. And I'm going to populate this area with all of the Patreon content that we did over the 3 years so that folks can grab that and hang out for a bit. And once I'm done, once that has been filled up with the Patreon stuff, then I'm going to flip on the membership. And you can be a member, which I hope you will, or you can opt out. Either way. But we of course prefer that you join us because it's not a bad deal. I think it is quite generous.
Yep.
And it's
a very good deal, in fact.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. Basically, I love this graphic. I'm pretty proud of it. But here we go. This is basically the month of July. Today, being this one right here, we dropped 2 stat blocks. We dropped The names escape me. Is
This
it
would
Hal
be-
and Pretzel? What is it?
This would be Agent H,
Yes.
Carotid, who are characters from the Hero High exchange students
Nice.
source book.
And here I am in the actual space. You know what I did, Steve, is I decided that the first stat block drop would go to our friends that were former, Patreon members, and that they should all get the first one. It just seemed like a nice celebratory kind of thing for us to do.
Absolutely.
And so the next one is going to be Gladiator and Emissary.
Correct.
But yeah, so this zip file right here for these two fine foreign exchange students is where the Hero Lab files are. So if you're looking for those, look no farther than that. But I got to tell you, the PDF is, we upped our game on the layout. It looks fantastic. It's really, it's
good.
Yeah, it's really a nice, when I think back on when we first started doing the Patreon, it was, we had a great sort of PDF that we put together very quickly because we were like, got to get it out there. But we also had everyone else got a cut and paste of it. But now everybody gets this shiny new PDF. And so that is what happened today. We've got the M&M mix-up poll. And it's kind of like, I've been describing it, Steve, as sort of Mad Libs for, tell them what we do to you.
Folks from the Patreon will be familiar with this. This is where we do a poll where we get folks to pick from a set of villains or antagonists and to pick a setting or a place from the Earth Prime setting. And then Alex or I put together an adventure outline based around that group of villains and that location or that area. Sometimes we might come up with a particular situation or something like that related to an area as far as that goes. But it's a fun little creative project. Lets us spotlight some of our huge catalog of villains, as well as some of the perhaps less known spots and areas on Earth Prime. And so it's a lot of fun.
Super fun, and we like to make it weird. So I like it when it's weird. I'm not sure how Alex and Steve feel about it, but your mileage may vary.
So that's more of a creative challenge that way.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's that's on the 10th, and then 10 days later, we've got is it 10 days or it's about 9 days? Where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, I'm looking over here. It's way over here. Later. It's the 2 weeks later. You get the adventure outline on the 24th. Correct. So let me zoom back here. On the 15th, you get the stat blocks that we talked about.
Yep.
And then followed by on the 17th, a dev chat. And we just have a blast with these. They're just a lot of fun.
They're great.
Yeah, they're so much fun. We get feedback, we share ideas, we give glimpses into the future, and it's a lot of fun. Now, here's something brand new. This is the monthly development workshop that can take on several forms, but right now we're thinking that it's a great place to do some of the work on that other thing that we're doing, which is the yearly development project in collaboration with people who are members.
Yep.
And it's so much fun. I don't know if many of you were a part of our Starhaven event. We had so much fun with that. It was just we really had, we even had elections. And I remember when it was Crystal, you and Alex played different people running for office.
Made cases for our candidates and everything.
So awesome. It was so much fun. So we're going to look to do that, but with an even tighter sort of collaborative vein running through that, so that that when we bring that out to the community to kind of engage in those ways, that it's even more creative. We're looking forward to that. And then we've got an actual play every month, right around. So this might jump back and forth between Friday and Saturday. I would see this as a floater kind of thing because we want to be able to do it when everyone can join. And so that happens on the 20th. That's an actual play. And the cool thing about the actual play is that more times than isn't something brand new that needs a little run through. Steve, you actually sort of introduced the whole Valiant thing.
I did.
Yeah, through an actual play that one of the Patreon actual plays.
I ran the adventure that was that eventually came to be in the Valiant Quick Start first on our actual plays, and we've done other sorts of play tests and ways of trying out new adventures, new ideas on the actual plays.
Yeah, it's a blast. Alex has done his the name just dropped right out of my head. It is the his world of monsters and magic.
Titan City. Yep.
Thank you. And that was a blast. So it's a special time, and we broadcast them live. I will tell you, gentlemen, there is nothing the Mutants and Masterminds community loves more than to watch an actual play, and they will stick in there like through the whole entire thing, no matter how ridiculous it gets. Having been a part of a couple pretty darn ridiculous actual plays, I'm surprised that they stuck around, but it's fun. Talked about the M&M mix-up, that adventure outline, and then we started new, but that's only...
Start again, yeah.
Yeah, and that's only some of the stuff. Like we talked about the actual plays, we talked about dev chats, we talked about the workshops.
Well, I was going to say, and Troy, you haven't even hit on the discount.
I haven't yet. That is right, Steve. Folks, everybody who's a member gets just a flat, like 10% off everything, anytime, whenever you order from the store.
I mean, you'll get that right there basically pays for your membership.
Honestly, I mean, it really does. And maybe you got a friend you want to pick something up for, or I mean, like you can facilitate that. It's just I'm really pleased that we're able to do that, and it will pay for itself. So we get access to the Sanctum, private workshops, the collaborative development project, exclusive early VTT releases. So you'll get them first, and some of them, like not all of them, and it won't be exclusive in the sense that other people will be able to enjoy them later on down the line. As with most of the things that we're doing here, we want the community to be able to.
We'll try and give folks a shot at them first.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then playtest previews. That's stuff that we need you to kind of weigh in on and give a little thought. Steve, you've been sort of running some playtest previews, just kind of gathering feedback on things in the tank.
Yeah, and there will definitely be more of that to come.
Nice. And we talked about the discount code. So. Oh, and then access to the 3 years of the Patreon back catalog, which has some cool stuff in it.
Quite substantial. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just felt myself getting very, what's the word I'm looking for? Melancholy. It was such a fun time getting to know everybody. It's still very enjoyable, but it's just I look back on what we were endeavoring to do in the midst of the pandemic, and and the Mutants and Masterminds community really came through for us. It was a lot of fun. So I also promised to throw in some, as I find weird stuff in the archive that interests me and get permission to be able to share it. That could be all kinds of stuff. I've shared like a ship, like a map of a ship, a volcano lair, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's all of that, $8 a month, or if you do the annual, I'll give you 2 free months. So it's only $80.
Right.
Yep. For the whole stinking year.
Where do people go, Troy? Where do they go?
How do we sign up for this magical membership?
To do that, you need but to head over to the Atomic Think Tank at a link that I'm going to drop here momentarily, but I need to do this first. Nope. Yep. Bloop. There. I just had to drop that out. And then, So go to the link. Sign up, give us your money, and enjoy. When I send you this link that's coming soon to the chat.
RC points out that folks are probably going to want to use the link on a desktop or mobile browser rather than using the Mighty app right now.
Mighty app is kind of mighty. It's different. Than one would expect. But I have been playing around with it. Some of the new things, I haven't played around with it from the perspective of a user, and so I would go with RC.
For now, stick to the website. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, or Claude. Yeah, So RC, I'm not sure The link that I just sent will take you right to the membership area. There are only a few people who can see the Cape and Cow Club, I believe, but I could be wrong. What am I missing here in chat? Just a heads up that it doesn't look like the membership is available. Okay, yep.
Jay Gray had a question about the workshops, to talk a little bit more about that.
Well, Steve, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the notion is that the development workshop is going to be fairly interactive.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely want to have a lot of discussion and community feedback on the development project. So there's going to be, much like we did with Starhaven, there are going to be ranges of different. Some are going to be much more sort of brainstorming sessions of, give us a whole bunch of ideas about like this setting or this concept. Others are going to be much more focused, where we have said, okay, we have narrowed these things down, rank these things.
That's right.
In terms of what you think is the best or the most important. And we might do some ranked choice polls or some other forms of voting in order to get a sense of what the community overall wants, out of the options that we've sort of narrowed things down to.
Yeah.
And other cases, it might be much more zooming in on a particular place or character or concept. Others times it's going to be much more zoomed out, and we're going to be looking at an overall element of the setting and those sorts of things. It's very fluid and still in development, but we really want it to be a chance for folks to participate and interact and work with us on its development.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I was going to add is I would expect us to be experimental in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, and also a lot of that will be driven, as Steve, as mentioned, by your participation. I mean, it could go many different ways. Why it could go right off the rails, for all we know.
What a segue that is.
Nice. Did you like that? Thanks,
guys. Was great. Yeah. That was great.
I've been working on my segues. I'm at home just segueing all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Bring it on home.
I got to tell you this, that we've got we've got to pay homage. We've got to thank a couple Seans for this topic. That would be Sean Dugan and the other Sean. So two Seans, Sean and Sean. And you get this big old hero point. But you don't really get this one or our physical one. I'm utilizing it now just to harass Steve online by covering him up with a hero point. But it's something that you can use to do all kinds of magical stuff. Like you can win a fight that you lost, get that last word in. You can decide, you can go back and not have that last bite. You can decide maybe not to put on those particular pair of pants, whatever it is, and we'll leave that to you. We don't need to know more. Thank you, Sean. And I know real quick, Sean has a question that I want to cover. Sean, yes, I have found Sean asks, did we locate Alex's template for adventure stuff? And we have. Mm-hmm. He's given it to me, and I'm going to plop it right into a space where everyone can see it. But in the future, those kinds of things will go into the sanctum.
Yep, indeed.
Sweet. All right. Well, so we are, I feel like we're firmly on the rails, honestly.
I know, right?
Yeah. And Devious, I want to be sure you know you are welcome to, we celebrate you for joining us today and really appreciate you getting involved. So feel free. I've put together a little noise for you. little party noise for you. Thanks for joining us. Sure. So when are things on the rails?
So things are on the rails, and the term rails and railroading is kind of loaded when it comes to RPGs, because there's a notion that railroading is the sort of forcing players to go down a particular narrative track. And that tends to be frowned upon in the sense that the players feel forced, that they don't have any choice, that they don't have any agency. And so the trick is to keep things on track without necessarily the players feeling that there's a track or that they're on it. So far as that goes. But broadly speaking, things are on the rails when the adventure is flowing well, and things are just sort of progressing naturally, one thing after another, and the story is unfolding smoothly, and everything is just running well. So far as that goes, and that's sort of the ideal that you shoot for in an adventure, is that things just progress from one part to the next and run naturally until they get to their whole conclusion.
Well, here's a
But
cool.
it doesn't always go that way.
Right. I was going to ask you too. Can it be considered when things are rigidly on the rails in that way that they can be? It's kind of almost like they're off the rails. Like it's just not on the. It's on the wrong. Yeah.
In the sense that the adventure is not running well. If the players feel like they're constrained and things are just like they may as well not be there. In the sense that the adventure is just proceeding from one part to another, regardless of what they do, then the adventure is not running really well.
Yeah, when they say things like, "I'm so happy you called us here to read your novel,"
right?
Yes, right.
They're not participating; they're just showing up and have you talking.
Yeah,
that's
not a collaborative experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to nip this in the bud real quick. That the hero point is not an NFT. It might resemble maybe graphically one, but that was just because I was in a hurry. But it's not. It's not that.
No. J-Gray makes a good point that basically there's just sort of a certain amount of sleight of hand presentation in being a game master. That you want to give the players as much of the feeling of choice and agency as you can, and kind of keep all of the wires and other sorts of strings to the whole thing behind the scenes. So that the adventure is flowing well, but it doesn't feel forced.
Some of the most magical moments in watching or in playing is when you can tell the GM was not ready for that. Like the thing that that X factor is just, it's so enjoyable. Devious, do you find yourself as more of a GM than a player?
Yes, I'm unfortunately cursed with the forever GM syndrome, but I do get to play here and now.
Mm-hmm.
So when are your moments of like, okay, my spidey senses are tingling, something's not right, or we are careening in a way that is going to end up being, not fun? Talk to me a little bit about your process as a GM.
When the bathtub full of drunken cats that are my players go, "Hey, look, let's talk with this exotic new person, Chuck the bartender," that I barely just came up with the name for. Yes. That occurs. Basically what I try to do when I'm doing a game is I'll establish a timeline for what will occur. But if my timeline gets all the way from point A to point B, I see that as a failed state. If that timeline is Dr. Apocalypse takes over the world or like kidnaps the congressman, if he gets from A to B, that's a failed state, not only for my players, but for me as well. I need to provide them with enough information to throw that off. And if they come up with something new, fantastic. If they are lost, it's up to me to get it back on track, to find a way to, say, hey, I can't have Dr. Apocalypse do that. He's not the good guy. That's not going to be a story for them to go, hey, remember that time that we lost to Dr. Apocalypse? Yeah, that was not cool.
Right. Because the outcome can be fairly dire. I mean, these baddies are trying to do some real damage. J. Gray says, I personally find that players are extremely receptive if you simply go, I improv just as much as y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to hide all the magic, but you definitely just lie when you have to, which is I'm presuming most of the time. Let's see.
Remember, you're also role playing. I mean, you're role playing everybody else.
Yeah, everybody.
And on that timeline, you also have to realize that every villain does need to have flaws. I mean, I've seen a lot of people prepare, he's the perfect villain and this is the perfect plot and it's so ingenious. And it's like, yes, but ultimately it has to fail for your players to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, leave flaws, leave open holes in the plan, let them, that they can take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do also love when a GM picks up on the scent and goes, okay, maybe I need to move this in a way that sort of incorporates the madness. One of the things that a friend of mine used to do to the guy that would run our games for us, D&D specifically,
Mm-hmm.
is that we would absolutely shoot for the most mundane of adventures. Like we would just be like, okay, we start talking to the bartender and saying, just like you're just basically being boring, asking for a
Mm-hmm.
job. Look, is there any work around? Is there a home maybe for sale? We really like this place. And we would and the GM would just be like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah, we just sidestep all the adventure and go for the most boring of, no, I'm going to wash the dishes in real time.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video about the adventurers going to an inn and the GM's really playing up this mysterious man in the corner, this dark man with a beard. And it's like, what's the bartender's name? What? It's
Right.
Phyllis. Phyllis the bartender. But this guy over in the corner, what is she like? Is she blonde? Or like, sure, she's blonde.
Mhm.
That's exactly what we did to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were
Yep.
like, how do you make this mince pie?
I mean, one of the most common ways that adventures go off the rails is the player's obsession with some random NPC that you just made up.
On the fly. Right.
I love
then and
that.
there.
Now, how much challenge or how much work do the two of you do to have the resources that you need to kind of go with the flow? Or are you just in this kind of Zen space where no matter what they do, you can course correct them expertly back onto the timeline?
I like to have a good, like Devious points out, I like to have a good overall grasp of what the timeline of the adventure looks like, and who the major characters are, and what their motivations are, and what their plans are. And then for me, it's just having a few references on hand, some pre-generated names or stock characters for those random NPCs who crop up,
Yeah.
and some overall just sort of maps or just senses of the general area that the characters are in, the adventures taking place in, so I have some idea what's around.
Got you.
And then really just kind of taking it from there.
How obvious have you two made the waypoint? Like, look at this NPC in the middle of the city. The mysterious figure in the corner. Do you go that far, or do you try to present everything as sort of a flat choice? And
honestly, I try to make things pretty obvious as far as that goes. I mean, it's a superhero, especially for superhero games. There's not a lot of need for subtlety.
fair enough.
Much
Yeah.
of the time, unless you're running a mystery or something like that, a lot of times it's just I mean, if it isn't just a giant monster attacks the city, it is usually something that's pretty clear. And I have no problem leaning into the superhero trope of having bad guys explain their plans, or having exposition characters, kind of fill in the heroes about what's going on. If they show up at a crime scene, I have no problem with the police saying, "Hey, this is what we know.
Right.
Can you guys help us out?" Or, that sort of thing to point them in the right direction. To use Alex's recent and upcoming Titan City adventure that's coming soon. An agent of the government basically just shows up and says, "Hey, heroes, we've got a problem.
Right.
This is what we need you to do."
Right, and there you go.
Literally just hands them an assignment, essentially.
Sure.
From Austin Powers' character Basil Exposition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. RC, a famed GM in these parts, also does that kind of same thing. I've participated in a few redacted Rangers, which had, I would say, some semblance of a structure, but only because he fought so hard to keep. We started off the rails. He invited us to be off the rails, so
Yeah.
I feel badly for him. But SC Terran Marine brings up something I think is important, and that is that railroading include basically preventing players from doing all they can to stop that thing, because you want them to fail because it's an important point, but they keep winning and you keep, I've seen that struggle a little bit. I mean, if someone's rolling a nat 20 on something and they just do it, what a drag it is to try to take that away. I mean, how do you parse that?
I've had a 3-hour adventure turn into 20 minutes because they just nailed it. Every single roll, every single leap to conclusion they were supposed to make, they did. And they got through in about a half an hour, and I had to basically talk about the repercussions for another hour after that, and then do role play, and it happens. It just sometimes happens.
And sometimes that's all you can do is say, "Hey, well done." You
did it.
We're done early. Anybody want to watch a movie or something?
Right.
Well, I try to string it out the best I can, but I mean, I've also run into the other problem earlier, and Justin Alexander wrote in his book, "So You Want to Be a Game Master," a good thing about 3 clues, having 3 different ways you can get from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C. And different ways that you can get there. I try to allow each player to have to use like what I call a spotlight skill. So like this player has contacts, and he has, a connection with the police department and the coroner's office. Great. He'll go talk about the body. Oh, this person is into high society and knows the history behind, the city and blah, blah, blah. So having multiple ways to get from point A to point B is very important. So
and real special too. I think that's good, Steve.
Well, and when you're running an adventure for a known group of characters, when you're designing for your players, you can especially play to their characters' areas of interest. If a character is a person in high society and their secret identity, then you can have a scene at a high society fundraiser as part of a lead-in to the adventure, because that's a hook for that character. It's trickier to write those scenes in a pre-packaged adventure, because a lot of them are optional, or, well, if this character exists, go with this way, but if you don't have this kind of character, then don't do this.
Right.
So far as that goes.
I only have experience, like I have never written like a grand adventure, so I'd imagine you'd have to even come up with more possible clues than just 3. I mean, when you can tailor make it for your group of friends, and their characters, it's really easy to leave the right clues in the right places, because you have to know them, their skills, what they were going to rely on. When it comes to an adventure, I'd imagine you have to outlay a lot more for that.
Right. And generally follow the guideline of if it's something that the adventure hinges on, don't give the characters an opportunity to fail at it. If it's a clue that really is vital for them getting on to the next part, just have them find it when they show up. You can roll behind the screen if you feel like you need to, but for some of those things, it's just a given of, okay, they're at this part of the adventure, they get this information.
It's a pivotal moment that
next part of the adventure.
Oh, goody, I've rolled myself into a dead end and my players can't progress. You don't want to go there.
You don't want to end up
there. Be there
as far as that goes.
Right. Yeah, and really it is sort of unless something absolutely so dramatic and so, concussive that your party wipes, that seems like that should be a rarity. I have this vision. I don't know if you gentlemen have seen, Apuk has been really farming this beard, just growing it out. I mean, it is like, it's majestic. And he says in chat, it's harder to fall off the tracks if you are standing on top of the engine where you can see ahead. And I just have this picture of Pook just standing there in this pose of just, resolve, and that beard just
Gently
flowing in
stroking
the.
his
Oh,
beard.
yes.
The air
Absolutely.
coursing through his beard.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Just
Fluttering
looking
behind
like
him lightly.
some kind of beard wizard. I mean, I can see
Mhm.
it. I can see it.
Yes.
Paul says I'm not good at improv, but I have read a ton of comics. I got a head full of Silver Age DC nonsense that I'm not afraid to use it.
Super
There you
helpful.
go.
Absolutely. And my vibe on that, Paul, is that that's everyone else too.
Yeah. Like Gene and Hanover Fist both point out, you can also, just sort of add on layers or twists
Yeah.
to the adventure. If the players are like plow right through your planned adventure, you can, if you're good at thinking on your feet, you can just extend it and go, okay, well, great job on part one of this adventure, and extend out, what they initially have found. There's a deeper plot, and there's more, for them to follow up on.
And if I want to string things out in preparation, often I'll have character subplots that will be going on
Yeah.
that I can suddenly go like, hey, Phil, you really needed to learn more about this mystery, but your mom's calling you and she's put 911 in the text. Oh, I've got mom. I've got to go help mom.
I've got to help mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like the Stan says you lost the fight. Okay. Your bruises spell out the following clue.
Well, the great thing about superhero games, generally speaking, is that unlike a lot of RPGs where losing a fight is the equivalent of a total party kill, and basically that's the end of not only the adventure but your whole campaign.
Mhm.
In a superhero game, losing a fight can actually be the thing that actually leads the characters to the next clue, because they get captured, the villain puts them in a death trap, the villain explains to them basically his whole plan, and then it's up to them to escape and actually go on to the next thing, because now they know what they need to do next
Yeah.
in order to thwart this plan. So now it's just shifted the direction of things. So escape from this death trap, and now you're back on track.
I love too the notion that there's sort of almost like a slip and slide sort of funnel what you want to get people into, you get your players into, so that they're at the thing, and then you want to then turn on the friction and have them sort of working a little harder against the environment, whatever. That's really fascinating. Also, Pook says, in fact, I am but the enslaved host of a zombeard. Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yes,
That's
that's
intense.
the distant relation of the hell to pay.
That's right. Wow, Steve, that is a deep
Right?
cut.
Right.
Really deep cut. I love that. Paul says I pretty much always rework a pre-made adventure. Pre-mades are like Lego kits. You get all the bits.
Yep. You need to occasionally
There's no-
adjust pre-made adventures.
It is best to tailor make
Yeah.
your adventures for your group you're in, especially if like they have certain interests. See if you can tool it for those interests.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay Gray brings up something too. The villain is supposed to outwit the heroes from time to time. I mean,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
indeed.
you want to.
I mean, the cadence of superhero adventures is that the heroes are supposed to suffer initial defeats or setbacks, as far as that goes. So that you can work that into your adventure if you manage it right.
All the sweeter the victory when you overcome them.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
But I will say this, as somebody who has been more of a player than a GM, I mean, I did GM some game, when I was younger, but those weren't games. They were just very wild stories that people were like, is this even a thing in D&D? Yeah. It was not. But the notion that I feel bad when I can see that something I have done has curtailed
GM off.
Yes, and I've done that to Alex a couple times. Actually, the dice did it to him, but like where I ended up, killing one of the baddies with his own weapon because it had fallen to the ground, and I just thought, oh sure, I'll just do that, and then it did that. And it you do feel kind of bad, but also a GM lets you feel good about that. Like gives you your victory lap, and so that's an important thing to kind of put in there as well. Klutz says homegrown, grass-fed, free-range, boneless beard. Gross for some reason. And then Nate says, non sequitur, Nate says, beef industry is failing by stocking chickens and pigs. All right, thanks for that tip.
Okay.
That meat tip.
Right.
Let's see. Just real quick. Paul says the villain starts the story with all the information, but the heroes start with a blank slate. So yeah, take that into account.
Yeah.
But another thing, I think it needs. I've heard a good allegory for not being on a railroad, but rather make your adventure like a highway. You have a general idea of what the destination is, but there's a lot of off ramps and a lot of sights to see along the way. Entertain those players if they want to go, oh, look, a Stuckey's, and they want to drive off. Let them do that. Let them explore that.
If they decide to visit the world's biggest ball of twine in the middle of your adventure.
That's right. You got to, you got to do that.
That's a big ball of twine, all right. The improv technique of yes and or yes but, always kind of agree with what they want to do, but then help shape that into a direction or a new way to go.
Yeah, it's accepting the input and then taking it to the place it needs to go. This Tempo says Captain Hammer tried that on Dr. Horrible. It went badly for everyone involved. Another deep cut.
Well, that's also where you get into subverting tropes and making sure that your expectations are set early on. Gray touches on the same question of are you aiming for, Peter Parker's terrible luck, or is this Spider-Man and his amazing friends and everything is going to be solved in 22 minutes?
That's right.
As far as that goes, set expectations with your players in terms of, this is, the kinds of superhero tropes they can expect, the kind of complications that are going to be coming up and are going to be appropriate. Those kinds of things.
And that's why session 0 is so important to nail down those expectations. So that when you say this is going to be a 4-color, everybody understands what a 4-color is. Talking about truth, justice, and the American way, or is there going to be shades of gray here?
Right.
You don't want your Deadpool murder hobo in the middle of your Super Friends adventure.
Right. That's right.
And also keep in mind that as the game master, you are your player's eyes and ears on the adventure. And so sometimes I will nudge a player with additional information to make sure that they're very clear on their decision-making process. Sometimes it'll just be a matter. It's the classic game master. Are you really sure you want to do that? Question. Or just, it seems to me this decision is based on you not having enough information about this situation.
Right, exactly.
But make sure you clearly understand what it is you're saying you're doing.
Exactly.
And, if the answer is still yes, I do that, then so be it. But sometimes it's about do you really understand exactly what you're saying?
Yeah, facilitate some agency, and if they want, they want to still go chase the chicken, then they do. But this is interesting. I think this is an important point that I want to share with folks. In both the, Jay Gray says, are there people that still don't do session zeros? And Devious says, Gray, yes, unfortunately, yes. And I think one of the important things to remember is that there are people who are just coming into the hobby, and they're they may even hear session 0 100 times, but they're so deep in their tables and their that they don't quite get that piece of it. Which is why I think it's real important that we leave the door open on those sorts of things and encourage people, but not also say, "What, you weirdo?" Or you're courting danger or whatever. But that we kind of serve as sort of big mentors for people.
There's also people who are like, I just run everything off the cuff. Oh, headache.
Which sure,
but you're going to have a much if you are great at improv, fantastic. Imagine how much better your game is going to be if you do put a little into preparation. There is such a thing as over preparing. There is such a thing that's where you're basically going to railroad because you've created this incredible plot. And again, thanks for reading your novel to us. When do we start the game?
Right.
There's also under preparation, and that is going to lead to calamity because you're not going to have stuff ready to entertain those folks.
Well, and the thing that worries me as well when it comes to those session zeros is that it is an opportunity for everybody to go, okay, I'm here, I'm in this. I get to make a very present choice as to what I want to see and what I don't want to see. And I can do that in a way that's, there's so many great tools out there. RC runs a really good one as well. I believe RC, I'm not sure where you borrowed yours from, but the process is really painless. And it also just, it contributes to the end of the day, you're having fun with friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get more of that if you take care of them. Doc Voigt says, I'm a month away from running my first ever Mutants and Masterminds campaign. Nice.
Ooh, that's awesome, Doc.
And I'm for sure doing a session 0. Doc, you'll have to keep us posted if you're going to be, not everything has to be streamed, but if you happen to be streaming it, let me know. But keep us posted on the progress and, how that develops and what you're end up, kind of creating for the folks around your table. That's super fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I do want to note also, I mean, if worse comes to worse, there is always the long bathroom break the GM can take. Guys, I just kind of run off to the bathroom while you're sitting in there rocking back and forth.
Hold my head in my hands and try to figure out what I'm going to do next.
Right.
But if worse comes to worse, you can always just go, okay, guys, this is gone to a place I don't know how to take it from here. So I do need to call a break to the game. And let's grab pizza. Let's go talk. And I'm going to think, be honest with these are your friends that you're getting with, probably. So they'll understand and they'll probably be going like, we threw them a curveball.
Yeah.
Right.
And they'll be proud of themselves for that. So
I love that you would enlist sort of the energy around the table. Okay, so something's happened here and we need to kind of reconfigure, but to not be afraid to take that break. And holy Jacques Cousteau, it's 2:54. What happened?
Right?
I feel like we're not even done yet. We just got into it. But let's see. Rebel Boost says there's a long bathroom break in the fake and important phone call.
Fake and important phone call. Yeah.
Thank you for that link, RC. RC has dropped a couple links. The TTRPG Safety Toolkit.com, which is brilliant, and then the one that RC is currently using, the safety document, and then it sounds like RC might be making his own, which I'd love to see. RC is definitely one of my fave GMs, and I appreciate that. Let's see. What did I miss here?
Put a link in for Guiding the Uncharted Path, Navigating Player Exploration and RPGs. So if anybody wants to follow and read that. I did also put an article in recently on navigating narratives and steering clear of railroading in RPGs. So
that's right.
The comments on those articles would be a great place to share your own experiences and your own ideas.
100%. And if you're reading an article written by our own Devious, then, and you were inspired to write a sort of a branching point, a thought, a process to kind of handle maybe to shore up a delta between a concept, do so.
Indeed.
Absolutely do that. Devious, I think we're giving badges out for people who do, what is it? Their first one, their third one, their sixth one,
I think it's 1, 5, 10, 25, 50.
50. Now you're about 150.
Right. I think we were going to do 3, 1, 3, 5, 10, 20, but we were trying to follow the progression of the measurement table a little bit with that progression in a way. So we were going to do badges for folks that give out articles, not only articles in the Freedom City Library, but also characters in the Aegis files as well. So
that's right.
Awesome.
It's kind of an incentive to go, that's me. I did that. Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I have this idea. I know that we're running quickly out of time, but I just want to, like, in the future, what I would love to do is to create a challenge wherein somebody went and we had to, I'll say blindly or sort of, blindfoldedly picking random stat blocks out of the Aegis files and some settings, and then try to make something out of that. Like, that would be so interesting.
We can add something like that to our mix-up challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, the stat blocks don't always have to be out of our, source books. We can pull some stuff off of the files.
So fun, yeah. And I do have to join in. So Devious and I, Steve, we're gonna continue on. At some point, we will let you go.
No worries.
But I do want to say this, just while you're here and while the chat's hanging out. Several people saying, Doc Void, Dev, I've been loving those articles. Paul said the average or overall rather quality, they're just average. They're middling. No, Paul says overall quality of articles has been really high. And I agree. I mean, Devious, the articles that you write up are so on point. It's
very useful.
Yeah, very useful, very well written, very well architected. You really feel that you've really, threaded the needle on so many of those topics, and also leaving opportunity for people to pick up us in that space as well, which I really love. So
thank you.
Big appreciation for that. Steve, what's going on in the Steve Kenson cinematic universe?
Well, Gene was asking about stuff we're adding to Roll20, and I know that our VTT team is at work on some of the upcoming astonishing adventures that are also in production, and that they should be coming to both Roll20 and to Drive Through in the Green Running store and PDF.
That's right.
Fairly soon. I know we've got a new Titan City adventure from Alex, as well as the time travel trilogy, which is moved into production. So those should be moving along through our pipeline. And I think that those are probably the things that you can expect to see on Roll20 fairly soon.
And beyond.
Yeah, and I was going to say, we've got a few other adventures and other things in the works that are a little further out. But
that's right. And especially we know that there's more than Roll20 in the world, and we will do that. So don't fret. What ends up happening is that we talk about Roll20 and then everybody on Foundry comes over and camps.
Right. But what about Foundry?
Yeah. But at one point, I do know for sure that they were colluding to send people to our live streams to ask us those questions. They weren't rude or anything, but they were definitely passionate. You hear Devious laughing. We knew. Yeah. Well, friends, here's what's going to happen next. We are going to let Steve go back into the deep, the Kenson sleep, as we call it, and then we're going to move into a new feature that we're tacking on to the back end of Mumamo. It's still Mumamo, but it's what's in the tank, and so that happens here shortly. Normally what I would do, is play some kind of an advertisement, but I don't have one of those yet. And so I want to do a call to folks to send me, like, if you are running a stream, I know RC's working on one. It doesn't really matter. If you're running a Green Ronin game of any kind, do me a favor and do a little less than a minute, no more than a minute infomercial about your what you're doing, and we will play it as if it were a paid spot right here on Mumamo to kind of help us transition into the next space. But yeah, Steve, thank you so much for spending an hour. It always goes too fast.
Pleasure.
It always makes Mondays such a blast, and I really appreciate you just taking time, being the luminary that you are. You are, absolutely a joy to hang out with on, well, really any day, but Monday particularly. So I think with that, we will let you go, and we'll put, hold on here. Let me do a couple. I'm going to do a little magic here, a little magic trick.
Bye, Steve.
Bye. Here's the magic trick. Da-da-da. There's.
I feel like there should have been
it's gravy squatch. We'll do a gravy squatch.
Sploink.
I tried, but it was a little too gross. It was too gross of a noise. But how about this? I have another magical thing I'm going to do. I don't have enough gravy on the screen to do the thing. Let's see. And I know my internet's being weird, so apologies if I'm just talking into the ether. And ta-da! Look at that.
What's in the box?
I put what's in the box, not what's in the tank. Whatever. It's in the box. It's a box, and in the box is some
There's
tank
a
stuff.
in the box. Yeah.
Well, you got to carry the information in a box. I mean, come on, we're not,
Well,
we're not just willy-nilly bringing information with no box.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so now this is our time to hang out and talk about this.
What's in the tank?
I love that.
In the too much joy. Frankly.
Yes, absolutely. So what we did not talk about, are you going to share your screen or am I going to share my screen?
You should share yours.
Okay, that sounded ominous.
I am not set up at the moment.
No sweat. I mean, let's see which lovely collection of tabs do I want to share, and we'll do. How about we do this? Well, first let's talk about it, and then I will sort through, and we'll go from there. So, Devious, again, I want to just sort of toot your horn and say thank you so much for the contributions that you make to the Atomic Think Tank. It's from art to writing great articles. You really put a lot of heart and soul into it, and it's why I've invited you to be on the program and just really appreciate it, and why we're doing this extended version of Mumamo that we hope to kind of continue to do into the future, depending on how this goes. We'll see. I'm kidding, Devious.
No worries.
Talk to me about what you got going on.
All right. I do have an article in Guiding the Uncharted Path. It's about navigating player exploration when the players go off the rails or get a little crazy. Like I said, it's like herding a bathtub full of drunken cats, but it's quite fun, or it can be. And different tricks and things you can do to helpfully, bring it full circle and get it back on point.
Can you drop links in the chat?
I did drop it for that one already.
Excellent. Good.
I also have one on navigating narratives and steering clear of railroading. A lot of railroading stems from either inexperience or it stems from being nervous about, what people get a little bit too guarded when it comes to their precious plot, their precious villain. They take too much investment in their own villain rather than realizing that you're kind of there to entertain. You're a host in a way. You need to, make this a collaborative effort. You need to interact with your players. You don't need to everything has to be 1, 2, 3. God knows no plan of attack ever survives contact with the enemy. That is
right.
True when it comes to planning a role-playing game, because they're there to participate in the story, not to be dictated the story.
And your hero your villain should be crafted in such a remarkable way so as to make the player's experience the best that it can be, right?
Yeah. Every villain has to have a flaw, and you can't have a perfect villain because then the players lose, and that's not frankly fun at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I am the perfect villain, and I've had to learn to sort of, curtail some of my villainy so that
every once in a while,
just give me a little drip of gravy, just a little drop.
That's right. They get pouty if
They do indeed.
And remember, if you kill them, they don't learn.
That's right. Then you run out of players. It's not fun.
Yeah, there you go. Another article I have in there is on using cinematic techniques in a superhero RPG, borrowing from film and TV to enhance storytelling. I mean, there's a lot of theatricality you can bring in for everything from in a live game, from setting the lights down low, but my God, make sure you have a reading light, or just mood music or whatever. But
like a romantic thing.
Yeah, but there are also things you can pull in from cinema and film. Abria Iyengar is really good about using prompts from like a script, and saying like the camera pans over the cityscape of Millennium City. Basically, why it zooms in on the face of the villain as blah, blah, blah. And basically it's a very cinematic way of describing things, using flashbacks and montages in the game. How, if the character has a hero point to edit the scene, have them describe the events in the past that led up to that particular item or event happening. Training montages. If your character has PowerPoints to spend and you're right in the middle of an adventure, and they're like, man, I wish I'd spent that already on my to learn that particular skill. Well, I tell you what, go ahead, spend that right now, and tell us about your montage. What was your training montage? How do you spend this point? And basically you can collaborate with your players on how to have that integrated into the plot and move forward and have them get those points in place.
Yeah, and really make them actually sing a montage. Like a training, epic training montage is just that always raises the morale.
You can even serenade them by singing "Eye of the Tiger" if you want to.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Always works.
Yeah.
But also everything cliffhangers in the game, and how to basically end sessions on that. You do have to remember, if you are going to do cliffhangers, there's not going to be in between game time, because you're going to be leaving on a cliffhanger, kind of frozen in time. So montages and things like that, spending power points during the game, come into play more often when you do more cliffhangers.
Hey, talk to me real quick about that before you jump on. I'm just very curious about how you manage to maintain that, because I'll tell you, between sometimes it's hard to schedule and you don't see each other. You don't get it back into the storyline until maybe half of the years gone by. How do you keep, or what do you do to refresh people when they're like, okay, when last we left this montage,
when last we left our intrepid adventurers, Chuck was hanging by his fingertips on the ledge. As Carol, basically, you're going to have to recap for him where he left off, or have the player recap for a hero point. That's also kind of a really good, good way for somebody to do it. But I always try to reward them recapping, because it also gives you an indication of what they do remember, and if they leave something out, you can quickly say, and also don't forget Professor so and so was doing this. So that basically, especially if it's been a long while, I usually game every 2 weeks with any individual game. So 2 weeks can be a lot of time. Oftentimes what I'll do is, if there is no cliffhanger, they'll do like downtime, what they do, and I use blue booking for that. In between, I did an article earlier on that. And
talk to it. So just real quickly, just so that folks who may not be necessarily aware of what blue booking is, what does that mean?
Basically, it's something started by Aaron Alston a long time ago, and he named it blue booking for the little exam books that they used to have at colleges. They were blue and they were empty and they were filled out in lines. And what they would do is they would trade them in between their GM and the player and say, hey, here's a list of what I did. Here's a little fiction I wrote about my character, or here are my plans for what I'm doing in between game. What I do is I have a Discord channel, and I have a dedicated channel for each player, so they can tell me about things that they're doing on their downtime events and things like that. And we also share Google Docs as well. Basically trying to use modern technology to blue book more. Blue book is more a description of the practice, as it were.
Nice, love that.
People who are really immersed in their characters really enjoy fleshing that stuff out. So.
Truth, they really do.
Yeah,
and it's fun. It's fun. But yeah, I dig it. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No problem. And I do want to actually give a shout out to a couple of people.
Oh, let's do it.
Articles in there. Paul Rua did a Joy of Loss, taking the sting out of setbacks, a little while ago when he kind of designed it. It says this is designed as a companion piece to Devious Hearts articles. Failing isn't the end, because we're talking a little bit a while ago about people, hey, reading something in the tank and going like, hey, I've got something to say about that. And I want to thank Paul Rua for doing that. And also William Lang's A Few Rules Too Many.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
The two of those, they're fantastic. I mean, like literally, they're just so engaging. And one of the things that I get to see in the background is the analytics. Oh, yeah. And when those kinds of engagements pop off, people just get lit. They just get so excited. I mean, we are now, because of the engagement of the two people that you mentioned, and of course you and several other folks, we're at. I think we're at, when I last checked, it said that we were like 70% higher in engagement, which is wild because we were already pretty darn engaged. There's a lot of people doing stuff, but that means in the chat and articles and all kinds of great stuff. It is pretty phenomenal. And I just wanted to make sure we called that out because you love to see it.
Oh, yeah. And also, I love the article Paul Rua did on importing the brainstorming rules from Atomic Robo. That is so collaborative to work something out. And not to mention, it's especially if you have a problem and you have a character that is, say, a super scientist who wants to figure out a way to solve the problem. If they roll high enough and you're sitting there like, how are we going to do this? Well, you bounce a graviton particle beam off the main deflector dish and you Star Trek it. You techno battle it.
That's right.
And you come up with a solution for that. And then finally, Alex put in that script he uses to break down mutants masterminds for con games, one shots, or new players.
Yes, right.
Alex for that as well. I mean, that was great. I hope he has good luck with that flat tire of his.
Right. Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm certain he's fine. At least last we checked. But I'm looking at the comments here real quick. Hey, Allie Goins is here hanging out in the audience. Allie is just a dear soul, a dear friend, and very engaged. Ran
Age enthusiast.
Yes, but also ran a Mutants Masterminds adventure for a long time. Allie, was it 4 years? It was a long running, very engaged, and I know that our mutual buddy, Kevin, who has, we talked about him, in prior shows, succumbed to cancer, sadly, but was a big part of continuing and helping Allie. So it's just nice to kind of see the community and what it does, kind of working together. I also wanted to say that, let's see. Okay, Rebel says previously on is also a good way to reinforce and remind players about something you want them to know, especially something that happened many sessions ago. Wouldn't, at some point you've got to just say, we forgot that. And that's okay. We're just going to move on. That power maybe isn't the power that or you've got it now, utilize it. Like, how do you shore the differences when it comes to that kind of stuff?
One thing I'll do is if my players get a journal together within a day of the game, I'll give them 2 hero points. If they give me another journal later, it's just 1. What's in the beard? I saw what you did there.
What's in the beard? What's that?
What's in the beard?
I'm not even near the computer right now. I don't even know what you're talking about.
What?
Is this
Okay.
No, yes. I have no idea what's happening.
Okay, excellent.
But what is in the beard?
There you go. Well, crumbs last time I checked. Anyway, no, by giving 2 hero points right then and there, you make sure that what they have documented is something that's fresh in their mind and they can recap it later. And you still want to reward them if they do make a journal of the occasion. That just basically makes sure that information is available to them. It keeps them.
Doc Void asks,
what did happen?
Doc Void asks the question, did I just hear a reference to an Aurelio Voltaire Star Trek song?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Nerds.
That's the way we do things, lad.
I forget these kinds of things, but it's so right in your face that you can almost forget to utilize these tools, which can be found many different places and for free. Paul brings up having a campaign wiki.
Oh, yes.
Which
Absolutely.
could be as wikified as a shared Google Doc. But I mean, you can go all out and really get in there. And what are some of the resources online? I know that there's one of these sort of world anvil.
Yeah,
where you can kind of build out your own space, your own world, and kind of, not miss a beat.
There's World Anvil. There's a couple of other ones. I don't really know many names. I just use what I use as a Google Doc. I have Google Docs for my game world itself, and then I also have when the guys make journals and they give them to me, I'll piece them together and make like a journal of what happened in the game. So there's a long-standing game, and if I try to use pictures in my game to show them, I'll input that. So it's this long document of basically what happened in this game, so it's they're up to like 36 episodes of one of my games, and it's all there in black and white and beautiful, pictures that I have strung together. And so
I love that. One of the things I also love is when you hear about the techniques that people use, another superstar GM in chat is Apook. Apook ran an adventure for me, way back in the day. Boy, it feels like yesterday, but it was a long time ago. Says that, sometimes you do ask the player to tell that story and give them a hero point, and encourage that kind of engagement. And then somebody, I'm going to get the name again because I forgot it. I'm like a, I don't know, a bird-brained guy. So if I look away. I forget who it was that I was talking about. What was it? Was it Zoltan? It wasn't Zoltar. It was, I thought it started with a Z. But that person said, I think I've seen, I remember a Pook doing that. So just proof, some social proof in the pudding. The other thing that I want to touch on real fast is just to get this out of the way. So I don't believe, Sean Dugan, that you were in the last dev chat that we had. It was the last one of the space before the, it was just last Wednesday, I believe, if I'm right. Is that right? Devious?
I believe so.
Yeah. We talked about the book that shall not be named. Not only did we talk about it, we showed some stuff off. Now I'm sitting on that recorded video. I could upload it to the membership section, Sean Dugan. Maybe I'll see you there. But I'll put it in the other one so everyone can see that. I'm on it. I've just got a lot of things cooking, so you'll see that soon. But go ahead. Sorry, we were going to say something else.
Oh, I just want to point out RC Beeler said, yeah, one of the biggest to-do list items is getting the Mayhem Cast World Anvil built out more. So he uses World Anvil. RC, I would love if you did an article on World Anvil and what you think about it.
Yeah.
How you use it. I think that would be fantastic.
Oh my gosh, what a perfect use of that whole resource.
Gray Matters Game Mastering says Discord is how I do it. I use Discord too, mainly for the blue booking thing, and then I assemble it and put it in that Google Doc so everybody can take a look at it. It's for more private interactions with Discord, and that's how we talk during game. We use the VTT, we use Foundry, we talk on Discord, and then we rely on the Google Docs for like past history. So, but I would love, I would love to hear how you use it, Gray Matter, how you use Discord and integrate that with your game. That'd be a fantastic article.
SC Terra Marine says, so can I use my hero point so you can show us the first 10 pages of the Vigilante Handbook, please? I have 2 points. You do have 2 points. I would say save them because when I upload the our meeting to the think tank, you will get your wish.
Several excerpts, yes.
Yeah, several. I think you'll like it quite a bit. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody in chat. All right. So have we talked about everything that's in the tank?
Absolutely. We've touched on the Freedom City Library, but there's also always the Aegis files, and we have a couple of items in there. If everyone's familiar with St. Lawrence, the fantastic Canadian game world and Freedomverse that Steinbrewer is putting together. He's got the Dockyard Syndicate in there. Dockyard Syndicate, a comprehensive study of St. Lawrence's maritime underworld. Dun, dun, dun. He also has Sable, a.k.a. Vincent Van Gogh, in there. Paul Rua has put in Bodega Cat as well for you. And also we have John Tierney put in his Charlton City Heroes, both Supernova and Quill. I believe those are players in his game. And those are some great additions. I look forward to seeing more from everybody.
That's right. So tell me, what are the kinds of things that people can submit, in that vein? Do we want to encourage people to submit only villains, like all villains, or what is it?
It is actually, I would love to see some vehicles, some some headquarters. If you have a map for it, fantastic. If not, if you just have the stat block for it, maybe a little history on it, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see that. Somebody else can use for their game as well there. I would love to see some support staff. I'd love to see, this is Agnes. She's this little old lady that's been the communicator for superheroes for the last 30 years, and she will tell you what to do and how to do it, and don't sass her none. I'd love to see some more support staff. I'd love to see some more. This is a cop on the beat. This is maybe some underworld contacts. I would love to see a lot of those in the tank and Aegis files as well. I mean, the more the merrier. The more NPCs that people have, the better they have. They can populate their own game worlds.
I love that. And so here's the other thing that I wanted to kind of clarify for people who may be just, tuning in or learning about the Atomic Think Tank. When there is when somebody shares something in the space, is it customary for people to utilize them in their, someone else's villain, whatever? There's so many great characters in the Aegis Files that I love them. But are they just meant to be looked at, or can you actually utilize them?
You can actually utilize them. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't bring a lot of the characters that are there into your own game world. Or you can do things like knock off the serial numbers, file it down, and make it your own character. But having that resource available to you and sharing is just, I think, a wonderful collaborative effort on everybody's part to say, hey, this is what I made. You might like it. You might
and
be able
share
to use it.
And share loudly. Utilize, borrow loudly. Recognize the work that's been done, and let the person know how much you appreciate the thing that you might have borrowed or were inspired to do because of that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear stories about people using Clockwork, the robot butler I put in there in their game. So absolutely. So that, let me know how that turned out if you use him. I was thinking also putting a few others in the near future. So
do that.
Keep your eyes out for that.
Nice. I think I'm gonna make some myself.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Let's see. J. says, "Listen, y'all. If I didn't want you to use what I put in articles in the Atomic Think Tank, I'd sell it alone through." Yes, that's right. That's right. Through our community content program. Absolutely, get in there and use it. Borrow it. Ask questions. And here's the thing. People forget. Now, let me just speak to the people who aren't, let's say, the experts in this particular subject matter. Do not be afraid to slow these big brain dorks down and say, hey, explain this to me like I'm 5. Because people get immersed in their expertise, and they sometimes forget that they are talking about sort of the next level, the 102, the advanced coursework, when you are saying, hey, wait a minute, why does my die only have 19 sides? Those are the kinds of things that you should feel free. And I will tell you this, a little reminder about being a new or needing information, and you will have every single one of these experts will literally bend over backwards to give you the details and information that you need in a way that's very easily accessed. I've seen it happen. As much as they are passionate about what they're doing and building and kind of innovating in a space that's been around for some time. I think are we 24 years? Is it 23 years?
I believe 2000 for first edition.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't that 2003?
Was it 3 or 2?
2002.
It was very close. I think it was like 2000. We'll get their exact date, but that's a long, it's a long time to be fomenting a bunch of, superhero shenanigans. But to great effect, these people have developed some skills, and so put them through their paces. Don't let them, sail off into the night without making them share some details about, how to do the thing you want to do.
2002.
2002. Yeah, yep. Absolutely. So I wanted to also say, listen, our, we don't eat food. We don't absorb solar. We're not like, what do they call that? Photosynthesis creatures. I'm just a mist. I'm just a big mist, a ball of mist that happens to get near a microphone and times it well for our regular live streams. We depend on you to be our fingers and our eyes to click on things like the thumbs up button. Give us the heart wherever you're at. Leave a comment in and say, hey, great stream, or wow, Troy, you're really smart. That's a great one. That's a good fallback. No matter where you are on the internet, just drop that anywhere. I'll appreciate it. But what you're doing when you do that is, when you share it with a friend, when you call your mom and say, Mom, let's watch Moo Mammo together. Even though we can't be together, we can commune through the fun, engaging, educational and also hilarious stylings of our general crew, and enjoy it together. But what you're doing is you're fighting the algorithm. The algorithm is the real monster here, and to fight the algorithm, you must feed the algorithm. And so why not feed them us?
Give us the love. Give us the thumbs.
That's right. That's exactly right. So do me a favor. Do those things. I want to thank. I see the thumbs popping up. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Jay. Don't copy. Okay, so Jay's posted in the chat. Well, Troy, you really are smart. In quotes, first of all, sus. And then now we can copy paste. People are going to just copy paste that one thing. And now it's still in quotes, though. It's as though you were, I'm just kidding. You could also say, Troy, you're really funny, or smart and funny. I didn't realize it, Jake. I'm laughing because Jay Gray's doing this on LinkedIn. He's
We still do stuff on LinkedIn.
I say, be the example of the thing you need to see in the world, which is more people complimenting me. Maybe less, quotation marks, but I'll take what I can get. Listen, go. Devious, yes, what an absolute delight. I really, really appreciate you taking time to hang out with us. We'll do more of this in the future. You and I have got some other great plans cooking. And one of the things I love about our when we kind of collude, there's always space for other people to collude as well. And so if you've got an idea, you've got a thought, you've got something you want to see feature-wise or an event-wise, you want to see somebody run a particular kind of game, whatever it might be. And the weirder, the better. Like, I mean, not too weird, but, interesting with some texture and a unique approach to storytelling in this TTRPG space. Send a note to let's play at greenronin.com and tell us your idea. It could be about a lot of different stuff. For instance, one of my dream things that I would love to do is to run a timey-wimey superhero long-term campaign. When I say long-term, we'll say let's say 6 months. Mm-hmm. But in that 6 months, there are 3 different super teams. One based in California, one based on the East Coast, one based in Middle America, if there's any people there. And have it be where those groups interact, and have there be a kind of a larger, a storyline, and then the actions they take impacts the whole timeline, and some interesting things happen.
You're describing my campaign because they both happen. The 2 campaigns I have both happen in the same game world. One is based in Atlanta, one's based in Chicago.
Atlanta, I love that. So I also want to have those super teams be physically near conventions, so that we can do sort of maybe here we go to the ECCC, which is the Emerald City Comic-Con here in Seattle. Maybe there's something, in California by San Diego. So we have San Diego Comic-Con. I'm just saying Comic-Con for whatever. Right. And then a PAX somewhere on the East Coast, something like that. But yeah, I love that, and I know it wouldn't be the first time that people do this sort of thing, but to me, it feels like a space where we could really get some fun synergies cooking. And Paul says collaborative multi-GM games are wild. Yeah, absolutely. Raymond says forces Troy back into his flesh suit he wore for the stream.
The stream on Wednesday last week.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
That clown, good Lord, man. That was amazing. I love that hat. The hat to make, oh my God. You gotta go look at it. You gotta go watch that if you haven't already.
It was so fun. That was the Redacted Rangers over with RC and crew. Of course, we had Control Out Quinn. They are an absolute blast. They were my identical twin. We were clowns. I was a 6 foot tall clown, a pasty white guy. They were a not quite 6 feet tall black person. So it was just, we had so much fun with it.
Other than that, though, identical.
Other than that, just the spitting image. Yeah. So much fun. Now I will say this. If you're like, yeah, I want to go check that out. I will say it gets a little blue. So, just know that there's some interesting balloon creations are made.
Coffee.
Yeah, to say the very least. But hey, listen, listen, in addition to doing Mutants and Masterminds every Monday here in this space, on Thursdays we do Thursdage, and Thursdage is a program where we talk about, it's basically powered by the Adventure Game Engine, and we talk about all the age games, we talk about all the good stuff, and we got a great show coming up on the 4th, and then I have it on good authority. I'm going to tell you folks here, but don't tell anybody else. It's a secret. We will have, I believe on the 11th, a special guest for Thursdage, none other than Stan.
Ooh.
Stan of the chat fame, Stan of the Stan and I do a podcast on sumo, if you can believe that. And then but Stan is also just an incredible artist. He's just, his illustrations are great. He's got a fantastic style. He's going to join us because we're going to talk about a special fundraiser for our beloved Owen Casey Stevens, whom, if you didn't know, with me started Thursdage so many years ago. And so looking forward to that.
So you guys are rocking on the 4th. You guys are going to be there on the 4th of July this Thursday.
No, I believe not.
Okay.
Maybe we could. I mean, why not? You know what? Here's the deal. I love, Jager, I'm not sure if you know what happened, but unfortunately our sumo show is deleted by by the powers that be of sumo. Here's the problem. We were just too strong. We were too powerful, and they deleted us right off the internet. So, but okay, I'll think about the 4th.
By the way,
stream.
I have put a link for the Devil's Playthings in the chat. You guys really should go check it out. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you didn't get an opportunity to donate, if you didn't catch it before, the stream is in support of the TTRPG gamers with the GAY for Pride, and that it's Tabletop Gamers, a phenomenal organization, and they've been around for quite some time. Advocacy and support for LGBTQIA plus folks in the TTRPG space. A lot of letters. Claylo says I'm snitching that secret.
LNOPMOUSE.
Exactly. Listen, we've had a lot of fun, and I believe we've learned a little bit about each other along the way. And I just want to say, here, this is for you.
Aww.
Thank you so much for hanging out. We've got to do this again. We've got to make it a habit. Chat again to you. I say thank you very much for hanging out and just being cool, just being real, decent human beings, and what a phenomenal community the Mutants Masterminds community is. But I do think that we're kind of done. Anything you'd like to say before we go? Any place you want people to come find you?
Check out Atomic Think Tank.
Ta-da! Exactly. Nicely done. Friends, you can find me just anywhere you look. I'm there now. I'm around you everywhere. Breathe deep. Good night, Superfam. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you Thursday. Goodbye.
Bye.